with Marcus Allen, him coming back on a 1-year deal, he is very intriguing. And I'm excited about him for a couple of reasons. Number one, we know from a just style of play standpoint what the NFL has shifted to, right? Guys that can play in space. We're constantly talking about where can we find a safety that can play in the box, right? We're a hybrid type of guy. Marcus Allen is the hybrid. He is. And the thing that I like is not only do we know he can cover, we know he can go sideline to sideline, but even though he isn't built for it just yet, watching him in, his action that he had at inside linebacker, he was a guy that at least wasn't shying away from contact. A lot of times, we've talked about this before, when you take safeties and put them in the box, some guys just physically don't have that. They mentally don't want to be like that, right? They don't welcome contact. They try to avoid it at all costs, and it can put your defense in a bind. With Marcus, though, when you watch him, he's not shying away from it. Now, granted, like I said, he's not big enough right now to really hold up in there on a down-by-down basis, but the first step is mentally having that desire for contact. So seeing that makes me believe that, okay, what if we put more weight on him? What if we got him a little bit stronger? Could he continue to evolve in that role? I think that he can. And that's the thing that, like I said, just makes it so intriguing. Now, I don't know if he will try to bulk up a little bit more, but since last year when they officially switched his position, I just think, man, he has a higher ceiling as an inside linebacker than he does playing safety right now at the NFL level. And he reminds me a little bit of Ulysses Gilbert, right? A guy that we were all high on, very athletic, but hasn't really materialized, right? He keeps, dealing with the injury bug here and there, and that's really kept him out the lineup. When I think about Marcus, I'm like, he's been healthy, he's been available, has a more extensive coverage background. I just think that he makes it a lot more competitive, whether he materializes into a starter or not, if he's just a depth guy. But either way, I think that was a good move by the Steelers to retain him.
And this was $1 million. It's just like JC, not a lot of money.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I like the upside too. This is something I've talked about not only with Terrell Edmonds, Antoine Brooks, but also Marcus Allen when he started to get some playing time last year, because I love it in like Madden. And like you said, just even with how the NFL is moving, I think it really makes sense for an NFL team to add either like a hybrid safety or have an inside linebacker that is more athletic. Just think, we had Devin Bush and Ryan Shazier, so we obviously realize this as well. Now, I don't know what happens with Vince Williams. Like, do you think, I got two questions. Like, what do you think in terms of him gaining weight? How long of a project is that? Do you think that's this offseason where he could go down for down at that inside linebacker position? Or is it more of like a 2-year thing?
No. Honestly, and this is something that I'm sure him and Coach Tom would have talked about during their exit interviews in January, right? So if they decided in January, listen, we want you to be fully committed to inside linebacker, I want you to gain 5 to 7 pounds this offseason. You don't need a ton more because, like I say, he's already in the ballpark of being an inside backer. That extra 5 to 7 just gives him a little more girth, right? A little, so when those guards are coming up on him, he can hold his own a little bit. That's all you're looking for right now. He can do that, if he started this in January, if he started it in February, and have it prepared by the time the season gets here. You don't have to have it during OTAs. If you do, great, but it's always important that if you're adding weight that you do it the right way, a healthy way, right? If you rush and do it, sometimes it can backfire on you. So that would be my approach with him. But with the right nutritionist, with the right workout plan, he can easily accomplish that. He has plenty of time. And you heard Zach Banner. Now, obviously, Zach Banner was going the other direction, right? Talking about dropping weight. But he's already, been the poster boy for how you can change that body just based on your dieting and just having a more focused lifting plan and things like that. So with Marcus, I think he could definitely accomplish that. But his ceiling, man, as an inside linebacker is very high because of what the NFL is right now, man.
Well, what's interesting, what you said about him wanting to tackle and be physical, that's one of the things we've also talked about too with guys that are on more the leaner side or are just more the safety prototype moving to the inside linebacker. And I forget, how did we feel about him whenever he played during the season? I don't know if you watched as much tape on him or not, because that was one of the things I was hesitant on with him coming back and playing that inside linebacker, because you talked about you got to want to hit. But if you're saying that that's the case with him, the more you've watched the tape, then it goes back to everything you said. He's really intriguing then.
Yeah, because for me, I watched, obviously the Bills game was, I think, his first start. Yeah, that would have been his first start because that was when Vince was still out. And then he got time.
Did he get some time with the Bengals?
The Bengals game. Yep. So we saw little flashes there. For me, sideline to sideline, man, it looks like it's supposed to look. He looks fast. He plays fast. Open field tackling, it looks like it's supposed to look. He can make open field tackles. When it came down to just the run fits and stuff like that, that was the part where I expected him to struggle, and he did. And when it comes down to when you play in Buffalo, remember what Buffalo decided to do, right? Obviously, they worked Stephon Diggs a lot more in that second half, but they also started to run the ball more, and they started to make
they had
him
no
have
problems,
to, right. And they started to make him have to take on guards, centers, play after play. That's not what he's built for. So even though, and even in that sense, the reason why I said it was still, I liked it was because he never turned down contact. Yeah. Now he was the nail a lot more than the hammer, meaning he was on the receiving end of the blow instead of delivering the blow. As a linebacker, you want to always be delivering. You want to be the hammer, not the nail. He was the nail a lot of times, but that was more so, like I said, based on his physical stature right now. If you ask a former safety to play linebacker and he's not, he hasn't did the body transformation like a Mark Barron type, right? You're going to see those guys struggle when it comes down to just playing solely the run. And that's ultimately where he struggled at. But as a whole, I feel like you can fix that. I feel like you can definitely fix that. And not only can you fix that, I'm also going to lean more towards my interior D lineman. I'm gonna talk to Stephon Tuitt, Cam Hayward. If Tyson Alualu does return, I'm going to talk to him. Carlos Davis, Isaiah Buggs. Hey, man. If those linemen are leaving y'all single blocked, that means it's your tackle for a loss. You can't be single blocked as a 3 technique or some of these interior guys. Like, that will be the message that I would be pushing it to them. And ultimately that would help Marcus as well, because those guys wouldn't be so quick. The offensive line wouldn't be so quick to come up on him, knowing that, hey man, this dude Tuitt is dominating us when we single block and we have to use 2 to account for him. It changes things for him a little bit.
Chances he could be a starter, even just coming into the season or in general, like a Devin Bush, Marcus Allen combo.
I don't think it happens. I think for this team, they're either going to bring back Vince Williams and he'll be starting opposite Devin Bush, or Vince becomes a casualty, which is still a possibility right now. And the team goes out and either find somebody in the draft early on, which we know this team will do. We know how they love their linebackers. So I think that could happen as well, man. But I think Marcus starts out as your LJ Fort here, right? Your dime linebacker, third down specialist, cover guy. I think that's going to be his role next year, barring any major injuries from the starters. I think that's where he kind of falls in next year.
Okay, interesting. Well, yeah, because some of the time that he got, I don't know about necessarily the Bengals game. We were playing Brooks in that Bengals game.
Yeah,
we were doing some weird formations, but in the Bills game, I think that was due to a lot of injuries. So I think you're right with that. If we're healthy, maybe we make some signings. Maybe he won't get the greatest opportunity this year, but you never know. I guess you never know.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I was actually trying to look to see how many games he actually appeared in last year, man, from a defensive standpoint at least.
And I think you're right. I don't remember him getting burned at all in coverage at all.
Yeah, so he had 14 games he played in. He had 2 starts. Trying to see if I can get it broken down a little bit more. Oh, here we go. Oh. Shout out to this Pro Football.
They got the Pro game logs. Rec. They got the snap by snap.
Absolutely. You already know I'm going there. I need to see your offense, defense, snap percentages. There we go. All right, so let's see. In the game versus Baltimore, he got some action. Just targeted twice, 1 completion for 8 yards. Had 1 blitz that game, had 2 tackles. Or no, 1 tackle and 1 missed tackle. Played a little bit in that first Bengals game. 3 targets, 2 catches for 24 yards. What is it? 4 blitzes, 2 tackles, only 1 missed tackle. Okay. Then weeks 13 and 14. No, excuse me. 14 and 16. think I'm reading that right. Oh, no. It's game number, but it's week 15, game 14 for us. That second time against the Bengals.
Okay.
Played. I mean, he's got some snaps in there. So, yeah, he saw some. I mean, not a ton of time, but he saw some time.
Yeah, that's my point. I don't really. There was never any point where in coverage I thought he blew anything.
Right. Yeah, I agree, man.
And there was a big play let up or anything like that.
Right. I say, which is huge, right? Mentally, making sure you know what you're supposed to do. And especially if your background is in coverage, you need to excel in coverage. The same way we know with Vince Williams, right? We say we used to joke and call him a 9-on-7 linebacker for the football heads. That's like this old school, like running only football drill that you would do in practice. 9 guys in the box versus 7 guys, and literally you're just straight run plays. It's a crazy scenario, right? And we would say, Vince, that's what you are. So you should specialize in stopping the run. And what does he do? He specializes in stopping the run and he rushes the passer. For Marcus Allen, if you specialize in coverage, every time you're on the field, you need to excel in that. That has to be priority number 1 for you. So I'm with it, man. Like I said, I like it from a competition standpoint. I like it from a depth standpoint. And I like it from the intrigue of it could blossom into something more than that.
Sure. Yeah. Low risk, potential high reward.